Well, good evening, everybody. It's Fiona Hooper here again, professional landscape artist, and I'd like to welcome everybody to this week's instalment of The Poetry of Painting. And exciting news, this week I have a special treat for you all. I'm being joined by a lovely poet, Roz Ottery, who will be reading one of her poems about a painting of mine, as indeed will I be doing as well. So the painting that I'd like to talk about this week is called Solace of the Trees. And before I talk about the painting, I'd just like to introduce my guest and bring her into the call. So, hi Roz, hello, how are you? Oops, sorry, I seem to have, that's it. There you're on the screen, good. So welcome to my little live show. And I wondered if you'd like to maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and your poetry.
Well, I've been writing poems since I was very, very young. I was introduced to poetry in junior school by a headmaster and fell in love with it and never stopped. But I was quite shy about sharing poetry because, like a lot of art, it comes from the soul. So it's quite a personal thing, really. And I basically ended up being brave enough to do that a couple of years ago and have been reasonably successful. I've had one poem published, and I've the Northern Poetry, which is a Facebook group, run competitions, and I've managed to win that 4 times. So that's good success for me.
Absolutely, that's magic, really brilliant. Yeah, so we'll hear a little bit more about your story as well in a minute, but first of all I would just like to say we've got the painting here, sorry, this side of me. So actually if I just change the screen, then you'll be able to see that the painting here, The Solace of the Trees. And I know you've seen the painting, but you've not heard me talk about it yet, Roz, have you? So your poem is really based purely on your emotional response to my painting, is that right?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Lovely.
I looked at the poem and I just allowed myself to feel it, really. Yeah.
Good. So I'm just going to say a little bit about what I felt when I was painting this work and what it means to me. It's about being out in nature, in tranquil surroundings, peacefulness, being able to get away from the daily grind and all of these things that keep buzzing around our heads all the time. You know, we're all prone to it, I'm sure. You know, we've got worries and thoughts and concerns. And for me, being out in the forest or the woods, it's just so relaxing. You know, the wildlife, the trees, just the gentle noises of the breeze blowing leaves around and so on. So but it's very much in the style of painting that I like to do, which is it's being described by a lot of people about it's very tranquil and calming. Oh, Chris is with us again. Hello, Chris. Hi there. So that's how I felt. And I think from your poem, you got some of those vibes coming through as well, Roz, didn't you? So.
Yeah, very much so. You'll see in the poem, I think it spoke to me of a feeling of being engulfed in nature, really.
Good, excellent. So would you like to go ahead and read your poem next?
Yes,
I'm looking forward to hearing it. So.
Yep. Okay. This vista greets my soul in stunning flame, to merge and then to swell, to call my name. Long boughs like thought rise up toward a dappled light, and tightened branch of orange flare fills me with rare delight. These hues and shades entwine above, in love's first kiss released, as the mantle of the trees gives me belonging, gives me peace.
That's beautiful. And it really does echo what I feel about the painting as well, doesn't it? Which is amazing, you know, that we both had the same feeling about it. So,
yes, I think the poem is really, the painting itself speaks for itself. The poem is direct relationship with that. You know, I'm fascinated with painting and poetry and the way that it merges. You know, there's a quote, and I think it was Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know. Somebody would have to look that up, but I'm pretty certain it was him or somebody like him said that painting is silent poetry and poetry is painting that speaks.
Absolutely, yes. Chris has made another comment, what a fab poem. So well done, you've got a new supporter there as well. So I'll read mine out next. It maybe goes on a bit longer than yours, which might be a good thing or a bad thing, but I'll be interested to know what you think of it afterwards. So being a bit of a novice at this game. So rich glowing colours, gold and orange hues, soft greens down below, peacefulness ensues. The shady forest floor, trunks rising high, reaching for the light, reaching for the sky. Bird song in the canopy, deer move like ghosts, the forest in motion with the life that it hosts. Nurture your soul, let go of tension, immerse yourself here in nature's invention. Escape from the rat race, put aside care, enjoy the tranquility, just enjoy being there. So when life is tough and you're down on your knees, head for the forest and the solace of the trees. So that's mine, my offering for my painting there.
A nice touch getting the title of the painting in at the end. That was nice.
I tried to, but I thought, is it going to work? But hopefully. So, but I think in many ways they're very similar. Certainly the thoughts behind the poems are very similar, aren't they? So that's.
I wonder whether when you were painting it, you were aware of the darkness below and the light above and the way it draws you upwards. Both those poems indicate that there was a definite drawing upwards into the light and into something that was almost a little bit more than just present day thought, but maybe resonance.
Yes, up into light and hope and rising above the darkness down below. And I don't know, I was conscious of that when I was painting it, but you know, it just the light, the colours, it's all, for me, it's so positive and uplifting.
Yeah.
And if art can do that for people, then I think it's doing a good job.
Oh,
you know, especially at the moment, we need things to help keep us positive, keep our spirits up, and to enjoy, basically. You know, and to, you know, if you've got a painting on your wall that you can just sit back and look at and sort of lose yourself in it. Imagine you've gone into that forest, moving through it and feeling the, you know, the branches and the leaves and the cool moist air and so then I think it's got to be good for your soul, hasn't it, really?
Well, I think life holds moments where the world holds its breath. They can happen minutely in your own life at the birth of a baby, or there's moments that are almost too precious to do anything with, but to commune with. And art, I think, does that. And I think that there's global moments like that. I mean, there's when the Berlin Wall came down, or the man on the moon, or even when Trump and Biden had their election. There's a moment where everyone just doesn't quite know what's going to happen, and I think art bridges that gap without pushing it so that somebody has to listen. It's just there if they want to.
And I think you can say more. So I've got feedback. Are you hearing feedback as well?
A little bit then. I wasn't before.
Not sure why, but I think sometimes you can say more with a painting than you can with words. It can convey feelings, in some cases, more than the words can do. And, you know, people then can take what they want to from it as well, not just the words that you've put into their minds. They can just take their own emotions and thoughts from the artwork as well. So, now, Roz, did you have another poem for us as well that we might be free to read?
I have got another. I have got another poem that I could read you. This I've got one that was inspired by another painting years ago. 1988 this was, and I wrote this because I was entranced. Unfortunately, I didn't write down the name of the painting, which is unfortunate. But nevertheless, I know the painting was called Skyline, but I can't remember who painted it. And this is what came out of it. Why is it all the poet's right of sunsets red, of crimson sheets so streaked, bright, burnished, bled, while I, the perfect pinks and purples threaded through the lilac sky, let lie restful in my heart and fall soft within mine eye? Why is it all the scribes will muse at autumn's fall, of blazoned marbled fires, deep dappled thrall, while I, the stir of spring's soft sweet song that shows the snowdrop's dainty white, rejoices as my soul is smoothed by the soft bright light.
Wow, that's lovely. Just some lovely imagery in there. You know, you really are painting you know, an image in my mind with the words there, aren't you? So yeah.
I think that's what I think when you marry up art that is physical, like painting, and art that has in words. I think something very special can come out of it. I really do.
Absolutely.
I think it's a lovely idea of yours, Fiona, and I've never seen anybody do this before, so I think it's a really good.
Excellent. Well, I hope, obviously I'd like to talk to you some more yet, but I hope you will allow me to put your poem about my painting on my Facebook page and things for people to be able to read it again and absorb it. Because it's lovely to hear it, but sometimes I think reading it as well, you can just savour it as you read it. So if that's all right with you, that would be lovely. So you can revisit it. Absolutely. And also reach more people as well, hopefully. So yes, so you started your poetry career at school, and I believe you have quite a few poems under your bed.
Well, close to thousands, really. I've written every day of my life, but I was never confident to speak them out. So this is a new venture for me, being able to speak them out. But there are many of them, and I'm sure that, you know, there are some that will communicate to people and some that won't. So I mean, the next thing I'd like to do is to do something like a book which has a collaboration of arts. I think that would be a useful thing.
Absolutely. So what gave you the final push to actually share your work with everybody?
Well, I am coming up to my 70th birthday this year, and I suddenly realised that I had all these poems. Nobody ever hears them or sees them, and I just thought, what's going to happen when I'm not here? The family won't particularly know that they're precious to me, so they may just get dumped in a bin somewhere, and I would hate that. I'm shy about them, but some of them I'm proud of, so
rightly so, from what I've heard so far as well. I mean, just really beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. And that's what motivated me, but it took some courage, as I think everything does when it's so close to you.
Yes, well, it's the same with paintings. I mean, now I'm quite used to showing new paintings to people. I'm fine with that, but certainly to start with, you do feel shy about it and think, well, is this good enough? Are people going to laugh at it? And generally, people find it so amazing that someone else can do that, and they maybe can't, but they just think it's wonderful. So it's mainly up here that there's any problem, rather than a problem with the work as such, you know, and it's lovely to share it.
I was brought up the same as many people in a time in Britain when it was big-headed to doubt that you thought you could do something. You know, that was not, people hid their light under a bushel. Nobody said I can do this or claimed. Now it's quite different. You know, I love it when the grandkids and everything just sort of say on Facebook, I'm so amazing at doing this. I find that really refreshing, because otherwise it can be a little bit that you can do something and somebody says, can you? And you go, well, not really. And it feels a little bit like you're trying to get compliments from somebody rather than so I'm all for saying, not I'm the greatest in the world, not that sort of rubbish, but simply I can do this. I think that's a really good and very straightforward thing to do.
It is, and I also think that not so much now, but as you say, going back a while, not only were people not encouraged to show their prowess at any skills, but I think especially women were taught, you don't do that. You know, men, it was fine. They could say, oh, I'm a really good tennis player, but, you know, for example, but women weren't encouraged to talk about the skills that they'd got and their talents. But I think now that's changed, which is really good, so that we're all, you know, we can all not be big-headed, but be happy to share what we've created in the hopes that it's going to bring joy and pleasure to other people.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't. It isn't big-headed to say I can do something. I think it's big-headed when you have an overblown idea of that means something. You can do something great, and if somebody likes it, that's great. But you know, that's all you can do. The rest really is whether or not it speaks to somebody or resonates with somebody.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's why we're here doing what we do. A, because we love it, but B, because we want to share it with other people.
Exactly.
And you know, the world would be a much poorer place if we weren't sharing art around between us.
Well, that is absolutely true. I think civilizations end, don't they, because they listen to politicians and not their poets.
Yeah, and do you feel with poetry, as I do with painting, that you will always be learning about poetry and always be developing, hopefully, and you know, that your style over the years, would you say your style has changed over the years with your poetry?
Definitely. When I was young, the first poems that I wrote tended to be about me. They had the word I and me in it a lot. Because there is, especially as a teenager, with all the angst of growing up, there's a therapeutic element of writing poetry. So you can write your life like a diary, and those types of poems are interesting, but gradually, as years went on, they didn't satisfy me anymore. I certainly moved on, and since sharing my work with other poets, I've learned so much, because I didn't even know what I hadn't had any formal training, so I had no idea what a villanelle was, or a haiku, or any type of particular format that people write. And so all of that is a huge learning curve, and fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because it doesn't mean that I will always write like that, but it's really nice to know, because just occasionally you can fit that in with the way that you're feeling that day, or it speaks to somebody else. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, died last year, and in my new spirit of being brave, I wrote some poems, as it was a long illness, and I wrote some poems for him so that his wife could read them to him, and they both said that it was a singularly important part of what happened, and I was really touched by that. And
Yes.
and so that type of thing that can really reach people is really important.
That's beautiful. And do you normally write in a particular format of poetry at the moment, or do you vary from different ones?
I'm a rhymer. That goes in and out of fashion. I've had people say when I was in senior school, don't write any poems that rhyme because it's very poor quality. And then so I tried for ages not doing it. So I've gone through various morphs. But in general, I think that I can write just about anything really. I can write ditties. I can write funny poetry. I can certainly do the ones which mean something to me, which are very important to me. And I can also, it's a very weird thing, but there is something in me that can feel what is the right type of thing to write in a particular situation. So that can be very useful.
So that's on emotions that you're picking up and information that you're gathering.
That's right.
And it goes in and transmutes into a poem that comes back.
And of the poetry that I write that does not rhyme, it still has, it isn't as free flowing as some of the more modern stuff. When I go to poetry days or whatever, some of the younger poets have a very, very free forming type of thing. And I've written poems like that, but they're not, they're not my thing. I can do it, but they don't speak to me as much. So if I do write something that has no rhyme, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it doesn't rhyme, but it has to have a type of feel about it that is meaningful, really.
So would that be with the words or a rhythm or a mixture?
I would still paint a picture in actually, shall I read you one? Would you like me?
Yes, please.
Rhyming. This is completely different type of poem, but this is, and it's quite short, thank goodness. It's called My Mother's Hands. Yesterday, I saw my mother's hands outstretched before me, moving softly, watching the fingers deftly working, hand over hand, backwards, forwards, and a voice said, "The cycle is nearly complete," and I understood. Yesterday, I saw through my father's eyes, world weary beyond belief. Walking onward, felt the depths of life's evolving, fearful stepping, stopping, starting. A voice said, "Your time is upon you," and I understood. Today I stare into the face eternal, feel the silent sadness looming, stare into the chasm yawning, slowly creeping, forever sleeping, and a voice said, you are next," and I understood.
Wow.
So that's a non-rhyming poem.
Again, it's just so magical. It really makes you think as well, and really does evoke feelings.
I hope so, because I really do find that these things are like leaves torn from my soul.
That is what you're doing, isn't it? It's a part of you that you're putting out, which, there's somebody that I know who says, in particular, painting, it's not paint on canvas, it's emotion on canvas. It's not just, oh, well, I'll just throw some paint at it. That just doesn't work. It's what you put into it, the feeling that goes into it.
Fiona, I totally understand that, because that's exactly what I got from your painting. It really, they did, and there have been other paintings in the past, like the poem that I read earlier with someone. But so I totally get that. I think if you just throw paint at something because you can draw, that will not communicate to somebody. Maybe the connection that is between everybody, between us all, which I genuinely believe in, maybe that is just part of the bridge that is in your soul. I don't know, and using that in a very broad term,
And I think different paintings will speak to different people.
Exactly.
We don't all like the same thing. So
exactly, and they indeed do, I think.
yes, we've had a lovely comment for you. Ritesh has said, "Wow, that is so touching, Roz," and I totally agree with him. That poem, your last poem, was absolutely brilliant.
Thank
So,
you.
Roz, I'm hoping that you'll come back and join me again very soon for another session on here on the poetry of painting.
Lovely, yes.
I think we could have a lot of fun talking about the ins and outs of poetry versus painting and how they connect still, and maybe do poems about another painting for another time as well. So
that would be lovely.
You're up for that?
I think that it would be lovely too if I could see your paintings that are behind you closer. Because I can see them, but I know what they made me feel like when I saw them close up on a picture. So I wonder whether or not there's a mechanism here in which you could sort of, I don't know, put them forward or something.
I think the only way would be to physically hold them here, which I have done times before, like the one that we're talking about today. Just bring that one forward. So,
beautiful.
And sometimes this one isn't, it's not got very deep texture all over. There's texture in different places, but sometimes, it can be useful to show the texture on the screen that way. But
lovely, really.
Yeah. So, but yes, if you would like to come back, it'd be really wonderful to have you back again.
Smashing.
And, next week, I'll have another artist looking at poetry and relating it to a different painting of mine. So that'll be really interesting to see the different styles as well. So that'd be great. So anyway, thanks ever so much, Roz. It's been absolutely brilliant. Love chatting with you again. And I hope that you and everybody else will be able to join me next week, same time, same place, for the next instalment with another real poet, not just me. And a quick reminder, if anybody wants to see any new paintings before they appear on social media and even before they go on my website, and to get invitations to any events, and hopefully we'll have some events starting up again as lockdown gradually starts to ease with any luck, then sign up to my VIP mailing list on my website to get my newsletter. And I'll put the comments in the link in the comments for that after the live. So stay safe, everybody. Have a good week. See you next Wednesday for another poetry or painting session. And thanks again, Roz.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you. Bye, Roz. Bye.
Bye.